Hi there. So today I want to speak a little bit to the wonderful world of challenges. Now that might be an unconventional view. Most people see challenges as something that's undesirable. In fact, the dictionary even defines things like problems as unwelcomed or harmful obstacles to our success. And challenges can be very much the same way. We challenge something, someone, or something in an effort to oppose them or be against them. But before I get too deeply into that, I want to take just a little bit of a step back, and I want to talk about the way that thought and emotions actually work. First of all, thought is just going nonstop. Most of us know that there's that ongoing chatter in our minds, and our emotions follow our thought. Our emotions are a response to the things that we're thinking or perceiving in the world around us. And so when we come to that moment in our organizations or in our lives where suddenly that there's an obstacle or something doesn't go the way that we wanted it to, we see it as a problem or a challenge. And the thoughts often begin to identify that and get frustrated or angry. And so that's when all these emotions begin to follow suit. And so many times in organizations and in our lives, it's actually the emotional response that we're having that is the actual obstacle. It's because it's the obstacle to solutions. Now, I've spoken a little bit about the whole concept of Darwinism and evolution, and I really love that as a model because of the way that it often gets misinterpreted in our society. And as I've said before, evolution is really about survival of the fittest, aka the most adaptive. So remember that what we're looking for here and what's actually built into the DNA of our humanity is a desire to overcome. I mean, the American dream itself, which, however misguided many people may think that is something to strive for. It's something we're reaching out for. And you see this in so many aspects of the world, that overcoming is actually part of the brilliance and joy. In fact, a pearl is made from an irritant, a piece of sand inside of an oyster, and then the oyster secretes something around that pearl to get it to be a little bit more slippery inside that, or around the sand to be a little more slippery inside so it's more comfortable. And ultimately the result is something really, really beautiful. So it is with problems and challenges. And after all, what are challenges except for a reframed word called problems? So, so many times we say these like fancy words, but we don't really hear ourselves. Now, I'm going to distinguish challenge and problem. A problem really is an unwelcomed or harmful obstacle to our intentions or our desire to achieve some success or some project outcome. But a challenge can be sort of a call to overcome. It's like, I challenge you to improve your diet, or to get up in the morning at 6 instead of at 7. It's like a challenge. And so I want to begin to have us think about like challenge as a way to view the obstacles to our success. Now, most of the obstacles to our success really fall into just a couple of categories. One of those is thwarted intentions. We set out to achieve a particular result, and well, it just doesn't go that way. Now, often we get mad about it, or upset about it, or hurt about it, or disappointed, or we judge ourselves, or we blame others, or any number of emotional thought responses. But actually, it's just a thwarted intention. The universe isn't conspiring to harm you. It's just, it didn't go the way that you thought, or that didn't go the way the organization thought. So what if we could reframe our thwarted intention instead of having an emotional response, but begin to reframe it in terms of what is the intention that we had, and what is the thing that thwarted it, and how can we begin to address that? Another common challenge, or another common problem, is communications that are undelivered or unexpressed. People like to hold in a lot. We call it sweeping things under the carpet. Or a lot of us like to pretend like we're actually being nice to others by protecting their feelings. But in the long run, it's actually just stuff that you're harboring that isn't said. And so that tends to build up irritation, and it tends to fester. And then when it actually does come out, it tends to come out in really harmful ways. And so this can be a problem in our organization too, especially today as our organizational workplaces are getting more and more diverse, which we should celebrate. But as that diversity increases, well, so too does the vast range of how people understand communications and their need to be communicated with. And even difficult conversations falls into this category. Sometimes there's a difficult conversation to be had and we avoid it because it's unpleasant and we don't want that experience. Well, this is sour grapes. This is cancer to organizations and to relationships. Those things need to come out, and it is not a problem. It's actually just a function of everyday human interaction. And then the final category is really those expectations that we have that just don't get fulfilled. We expect a particular outcome, where human beings can be especially notorious in this area when we expect things to go a particular way. For example, it's not good enough for us that XYZ result is actually achieved. We wanted the result in a particular way. Only, there was an undelivered communication about this expectation. And so how can it go that way? Also, sometimes, especially in organizations, as visionary leaders, you're leading others, and so it's difficult to expect that intensity from others in a particular way. We often can't even deliver that ourselves. So in our interactions with others, that becomes problematic. Now, all of these things, however, are functions of normal human behavior. And like I said, the more diversity we get into our workplaces, which is something we want to welcome, because remember, diversity creates greater contribution. It elevates innovation. Like, there's so many positives about diversifying our organizations and our communities. And yet, the more diversity we have, the more conflict, the more challenges, the more problems that we're going to end up having. But remember, evolve, grow. We want to grow as organizations, and we want to evolve as human beings. And so we actually have to have challenges in order to do so. Think about that. Without challenges, we do not evolve, we do not grow. So how can we actually face these with more power, with more effectiveness? Well, one of the things to do is to actually acknowledge the nature of the tension or the problem or that hot spot. Is it an intention that you have? Is it some communication that you haven't delivered that needs to be? Is it an expectation that you have that is also not communicated and is also unfulfilled? And then begin to reframe those concerns in terms of organizational learning. When our organizations have a culture of learning, then problems are a contribution to our success. They're not a deterrent. Solutions then begin to be seen as that contribution and not just as jumping over the next hurdle or overcoming some huge obstacle. Instead, the overcoming or the jumping over the hurdle is itself the contribution to our forward momentum. If you have problems or challenges in your organization, if you have a diverse workplace that increasingly is getting difficult to manage because of, human norms, then reach out and let's discover with kindness your life without borders.